All right, guys. Good morning. Good morning to another stream. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Monday, August 15th. Hope everyone had a good weekend. Has anyone played Star Citizen before? I spent some time playing that this weekend. That was fun. If anyone's played that. Morning. Wait a few minutes here. Wait for some people to creep in. It is Monday and it's early. Auto trade options and buying, selling stock. Oh, I do both, Phil. But I look at stock as focus primarily on buying and holding stock. It's my goal right now. But you can do that as well. All right, let's get started. So today we are looking at it's such an interesting time. It's such an interesting time for the market. Everyone's like waiting to see when does this pull back? When does this pull back? It's what everyone's mind is, oh, does this pull back? And it's one of those times where like you think it's gonna pull back, but what if it never does? I think it will. I mean, at some point, but it's like you don't want to be the first one to the party. You don't want to be the first one on the table. You don't want to be the first one shorting this, right? It's a very interesting. It's been a very interesting market this last few weeks, even almost a month now. It's been sort of grinding higher. It's been hard to catch. It's the upside moves have been good. A lot of the upside moves have been in the pre-markets, which has been a little bit tough. You have seen an overall trend to the upside, but a lot of the moves have been in the pre-market over the last few days or the last few weeks. So we had CPI and PPI made big moves in the pre-market. So they're hard to catch, as an options trader when the moves are happening in the pre-market or in the after hours, and then you sort of get this grind in the intraday. I found it a little bit difficult. So this last week was not the best. It was definitely a tough week for me. I didn't do that hot trading. I had a losing day. I had some really small green days. I really took the gas off. But I'm waiting to see what happens here. The reason I took the gas off the pedal, or my foot off the pedal, was because we're approaching this big level on the Nasdaq. We're still sitting in it right now. We're still below that 13,580 area as we open this morning. So still a very area of caution, in my opinion. And then you also have the ES, which is still in an area of caution. So yeah, it's I'm waiting for a little bit more clarity here. I mean, the market has been moving higher, and it's been pretty strong. Congratulations to any of the longs that have taken advantage of this. I've mainly taken advantage of this with my long-term shares more than anything. I've done much better. I did way better last week just holding shares than trading options, and I'll be 100% transparent. My long-term made probably about 5x what my options trading made last week. So, hey, I'll take that any day of the week. If the market's moving higher, if I'm missing it with options and I have my long-term, that's all good for me, right? That's just a cherry on top. So we'll see what happens. This week, we're going to look at some levels today. We're going to watch the 200 SMA, which is why the title of this live stream is 200 SMA, because we are approaching that 200 SMA on the Nasdaq and the S&P 500. And that is a very big level, or a big moving average that is watched by many, many traders and institutions. So we definitely want to be watching that 200 SMA level on the Nasdaq and on the ES. So let's just get started today. I'll walk you through everything I'm thinking. When we have the charts up, it's going to be easier that way. So today's the 15th, futures economic earnings calendar. This is a big week for the earnings. We have a lot of retail reporting earnings. Here's the economic calendar real quick. We'll go ahead and pull that up. Today, not much on the earnings, on the economic side of things. We have some building permits, housing starts, so some real estate stuff tomorrow. Retail sales. Now, this is going to be interesting. This is coming out when we have a bunch of retail earnings as well. So retail sales and a lot of retail earnings this week. That should be interesting. FOMC minutes, that's on Wednesday as well. That will also be influential, right? Thursday, we got our normal jobless claims. If my mouse would work. Jobless claims on Thursday, and then there's some Fed president speaking on Friday. So, yeah, retail sales and FOMC minutes. Wednesday, that's our big day, right? Wednesday typically is the big day for the market on the economic side of things. Retail sales, FOMC minutes, big Wednesday on the economic side of things. Make sure we're aware of that. Not too much to worry about today and tomorrow. I don't think this will be too market moving today and tomorrow. Wednesday is the economic day to be aware of. Retail sales, FOMC minutes. Okay? So let's watch that. On the earnings side, let's pull up the earnings calendar for us to review this week. Shout out to Breadman for always posting them in here. Let me pull that up. There we go. Okay, so you guys can see some big retailers are reporting earnings this week. So we can see today and after hours, not much, nothing really here unless you want to trade Weber Grill. I don't know. I'm surprised I haven't been asked to do technical analysis on Weber Grill. I'm not even sure what the ticker is for that, but I actually sort of am interested now. Anyone know the ticker for Weber? I'm just interested for the fun of it. But anyways, nothing much here on Monday today. Tomorrow, pre-market, we got a lot of stuff. We got Walmart, Home Depot, right? Those are really big. Those are some big names for the market, for the Dow, for retail, etc. And we also have those retail sales on Wednesday, right? So this is going to be interesting. OnCloud, I love these shoes. I didn't even know they were publicly traded. We can see Wednesday before open, we have Target, Lowe's. Those are some big ones as well for retailers. You have Cisco on Wednesday after close. Weber, W-B-E-R. Okay, I'll check it out. Thursday, we have BJ's. We have Ross, which is not really that big. John Deere is on Friday. So this is around the time. I don't know if you guys remember. This was around the earnings period where we had those, remember that really big Target gap down? We had the huge Walmart drop, the huge Costco drop, that whole retail meltdown. I think that was last quarter. Now we're coming back into that same type of period. It's not a year ago. It's just the last quarter. So I think it was, where was it? It was right during May. Yeah, so last quarter was that big retail meltdown on Target and the rest of the retail names. And now we will see the next quarter results on all of these names again. Walmart, Target. When's Costco coming out? Costco's another one we have to watch out for. Costco comes out. Okay, that's in September. So that's September 22nd. So we got some time until Costco. But we have a lot of retailers to watch this week. Let's make sure we're focusing on that. Watch those retail names. We'll definitely be looking at Target to the gap fill area. I'm going to be looking at that today with you guys. Friend made $134K from Target last earnings. Holy crap. Damn. That's awesome, man. Tell him congrats and tell him to slow down and keep that money. Because that can, you feel like, after that, you feel like you're on top of the world. But you got to make sure you know how to manage that once you get it. So congratulations to him. That's awesome. All right, so Tesla 4-hour flag, something I'm watching today. Google 120 level. Amazon 200 SMA. Amazon is pushing into that 200 SMA. Definitely watching that. We have Target gap fill. Let's look at that today. Nvidia AMD approaching resistance, rejection points. Square 90 rejection is still showing. Netflix gap fill. We'll look at that as well, and we'll look at the Meta chart, which is hitting a channel high. So I have a few, bullish names here, a few names that I want to watch if there's a downside. So we'll sort of look at everything here today, sort of get an idea of what we're looking at here early morning Monday. Remember, guys, it's Monday. You want to give this market at least some time to, get an idea of what's going to happen intraday. So on a Monday morning, I'm never that aggressive on a single direction. I always sort of come into the week over, without a bias and overprotective of what I'm going to be trying to trade. So let's get started. Yeah, energy is also down this morning. I'll try to remind myself to look at energy, because energy is another one that is pretty substantially down this morning. I'm going to quickly set up the live stream ticker forum here for you guys if you have access to it. Let's quickly fix this, clean up this for us to go ahead and put the tickers that you want to look at today. So make sure to drop them in there if you are interested in me looking at charts for you. All right, let's get started. All right, guys, here we go. Nasdaq. What level is like the last level of defense here for this April pivot high, this possible rejection point that I made a video on? This was a video on Thursday that I made a video about, saying, what if there's a possible rejection here? The last level that we need to watch, and it just so happens that this is exactly where the Nasdaq started to fail on Friday, is the high of this April 26th candle. That is 13,583. I'll go ahead and add the cents, and 75 cents. That is the exact level right here on April 26th. Okay? That is why I put this in bold text for you guys to see it. 13,583 and 75 cents. That comes in right here at this April pivot high, right? And if we go to the 1 minute chart from Friday, you can see 13,583 and 25 cents. So we're about 50 cents off the April high, that April pivot high on Friday. And that is where we saw that little rejection come in. So I am still not positive. I am still not that comfortable on whether we are going to break this triple top right here. This triple top right here is still technically in play. We are still below the highs of this April 26th, of this April 28th, and May 4th triple top right here on the Nasdaq. Okay? We are still below that. So if we zoom in, we can see that we are still rejecting the peak of that level. So that is the first thing that I'm watching today. Do we get over that 13,583? Do we engulf that triple top? And do we start to get more upside, turn that into support? Or is this where we get the healthy pullback? Is this where we get the healthy pullback? Right at where the triple top is from back in April and May. Okay, that's my first thing that will be on my watch. That will be on watch today for me. 13,583. If we go to the daily SMA and we pull up the 200 and we turn that red, because I like my 200 SMA red because it's important, you guys can see that if we have more upside, if the market gets upside through this 13,583, then I would expect it to move to the 200 SMA relatively quickly. Because between 13,583, let me zoom back in, between 13,583 and around this 200 SMA of around 14,000, there really is not much to hold us down. So if we get through this April triple top, then I would expect maybe a retest and then maybe move up towards that 200 SMA. That would be my next watch to the upside, the 200 SMA on the market. Does the market want to push towards that 200? That is very possible. Or do we see the rejection start to come in at the highs of this April and May triple top, which is 13,583. Okay? That is like the only thing I am watching today on the Nasdaq. That is what I need to learn and need to understand before I get biased to any direction. If I see something like this, right? If I see something like this and we push and we turn this into support today and we start to see 583 turn into a support level, into demand, then I would assume we move to the 200 SMA. If we get that type of break and retest hold, that would be my watch for the upside. If we turn this rejection point into support. Now, if we continue to reject here and move to the downside, then my main watch is the lows of the previous days. So I am watching the lows of, let's say, Friday, which is coming in right around this 13,340. Then I'll watch the lows of Thursday, right around 13,285. And then I will watch the lows of Wednesday, which is around 13,237. Right? I'll just watch these lows, because if the Nasdaq starts making lower lows from previous days, then we know that we are going to start losing steam. If we start coming down below lower lows, if we start coming down below previous lows, right, previous day lows, then you know you're starting to make lower lows, you're starting to lose steam. Okay, so that's sort of my mindset today. Coming into the day, focusing on that upside rejection point at 13,583 and making sure I'm not too bullish until I see us break and hold that level. Why should I not be too bullish? Because it is a very clear previous triple top right here. This level is 13,583. Okay, that's the Nasdaq. Let's go to the ES. So the ES caught up to the Nasdaq in relation to time. Now, this is something I talked about on my video Thursday. I said how the ES is not even close to those April and May highs. And now we can see that we are pretty much at the same level. We are pretty much at the same April-May rejection point on the ES. It's pretty close. So you can see the ES did turn that 4,200 into a very nice break and retest. I don't know if any of you guys realized that from Friday. This was a 4,200 rejection point. And look at how beautiful that little break and retest was on Friday of 4,200. So we pulled back to it. If I zoom in, you can see we pulled back to it on Thursday, right back to 4,200, little break and retest, and we held it beautifully. So that was the call from my Thursday video. I said, are we going to get the 4,200 break and retest? That ended up being the right play. I didn't catch anything off this besides my long-term shares. I just didn't trust it that much. Maybe it was my wrongdoing of not trusting it enough. But you can see 4,200 held really strong. So it's very clear, right? If you want to see the bullish action continue, you have to hold 4,200. You cannot lose 4,200 at this point. If you lose 4,200, then you're going to be seeing downside pressure. So 4,200 is that new line of defense for the bulls. In my opinion, you have to continue to hold above 42. If you get a pullback, you want to see it hold 42. If we break 42, if we turn it into resistance, then you guys know that we're probably going to be seeing some downside pressure, right? You cannot see 4,200 lose its demand. You want to make sure to keep an eye on that. Now to the upside, what is the level on the upside on the ES? It's 43.0350. That is the exact high from right here. This is the peak of the April-May triple top, 43.0350. That is on April 28th. Okay? So that is the level to watch. 43.0350 is the peak high of this April-May triple top right here. And we are close to that. We have not reached it just yet. And the 200 SMA is right above around 43.25. So you're getting into some potential rejections up here on the ES. Not much more margin up here until we start to hit this triple top and until we start to hit the 200 SMA. In my opinion, you either watch a break of 4,200 or a break above 4,300. That's sort of the levels that I am watching here on the ES. If I break this down to the shorter term time frames, you guys can sort of see, if you start to get weakness here, if you break the 42 level, if you do something like this, you turn it into a resistance, then I think you'll probably get that downside come in. If you see, I think it's going to be a very influential area around 4,200. So definitely watch out for that. I would also be very cautious of shorting into 4,200. There might be, there'll be some meat on the bones if we get downside this morning into 4,200. There'll be some opportunity for sure, but just be careful. If you have a short position here and let's say you're up 50, 60%, do not get greedy saying I'm holding for the 4,200 break, because it could very easily do something crazy like this, and you don't want to be caught in that. So if you get a nice short here this morning, maybe towards the 4,200 level, make sure to take profits towards that 4,200. That could very well be an area where this market starts to chop around, right? You don't know what's going to happen at that 42. So just make sure to be a profit taker. If you get some shorts this morning, if you see a move towards 42, I would be cautious of holding through that area. That could be a very possible demand area that you really don't want to mess around with. Okay, so that's the Nasdaq, the ES. I hope that makes sense, guys. Some really clean levels. You can watch. The Discord down below. It says free technicals. I post these the futures analysis there for free. So if you guys are new here, if you're not part of that Discord, that's totally for free. No gimmicks, no nothing, just free. You press it, you join, and you can get the futures levels there. I post them every morning. So if you're interested, if you can't make it to the stream, if you want to see the levels on maybe a text format, that's the place to be. Okay, so the Dow, you guys can see that we have a very similar move on the Dow, similar to the ES. I've said this multiple times. The Dow and the ES look pretty damn similar. So you have not yet reached that triple top, which is up here around 34,000. And you have the 200 SMA and the 34,000 triple top above as a rejection. And then you can see on Thursday, Friday, we held that previous high of 33,002 as a support level. So right now, in my opinion, the Dow is just sitting in a channel. I mean, you are basically just trading within this channel right here between 33,002 and 34,000. So it's about an 800-point range that the Dow is trading in. That's uncertainty to me, right? That's just uncertainty to me. That's not any kind of clear idea of what the next direction is. That's trading in a channel. That's trading, in choppy areas. There's no clear conviction in this, in my opinion, here on the Dow. I would just probably monitor the 200 SMA above and the 34,000 level above as rejections. That would be my best opinion or best idea to give you. But when you're trading in an 800-point chop range, you really can't get an idea of what the next move is. Russell has been the outperformer, and the Russell is at the 200 SMA. So you guys saw the Russell has been on fire, backed by these small cap stocks going crazy, and you can see the Russell has moved 20% in 30 days. So 20% in the last month on the Russell, and you can see, look at that. Is the Russell a short opportunity off the 200 SMA? This is the 200 SMA on the daily chart, and the Russell is sitting right at it. That's definitely something to monitor today, guys. The Russell at the 200 SMA. What's the IWM at? The IWM is right there as well, which is the ETF for the Russell. Is there a short opportunity on the IWM, on the Russell, at the 200 SMA? That is something that I will definitely be monitoring today. How does the Russell perform? How does the outperformer perform when it's hitting the 200 SMA? Up 20% in 30 days. So keep an eye on that today, guys. Keep an eye on those small caps. See if that 200 SMA starts to reject on the Russell. And the IWM is the ETF, if anyone's not aware. Okay? That is that. That is the futures. Let's go ahead and start with the individual stocks. Tesla. So Tesla... Oh, no, I didn't want to delete that line. Damn it. All right. I'll delete them both. I'll do that. That was for my own personal trading this morning on the shorter term. But I'll go over that with you guys. All right. So we have... First, the low of 840, right? Let's establish the highs and lows. We have the low of 840, and I think a high of around 950. You did reject around that 940. You didn't quite get to that 950 on the last push. Now, if I zoom in, you guys can see that we broke and retested the previous rejection point, right? You had a rejection point at 840 right here. 840 rejection, you broke it, you came back, and you held it. So that would be a break and retest, right? You broke it and you retested it and you held it as support. Previous rejections into support. You created somewhat of a 4-hour bull flag, right? You created this little bull flag on a consolidation, and on Friday, you broke out of it. On Friday, we broke out of the 4-hour flag. So, does Tesla continue to the upside off of this flag breakout? That is going to 100% rely on whether the Nasdaq moves higher today. That's going to be very reliant on if the Nasdaq has strength today, which I am not positive on. You also have this red line that's running across your screen, which is the 200 SMA. That is right at 909.18. You guys can see right here on the right side of your screen, that red box. It's pretty small for you, but 909.18. So this is interesting, right? Do you get more consolidation? Do you get a rejection of the 200 SMA? Or do you get a very clean flag breakout on the 4-hour? And do you start to push back towards these previous rejection points, 940, 950? Going to be a very interesting day for Tesla, in my opinion. You're either going to see a nice little rejection off the 200, or you're going to start to see this thing catch fire back towards 940, 950. But I think there's going to be a move here. I think there's going to be a move incoming here. You can see previous lows, all this consolidation at 940. Very nice hold. I'm not picking a direction, but I am definitely saying that this should be a watch for you guys today. Either a 200 SMA rejection, some of these previous high rejections maybe move back towards 840, or do we get the flag breakout? That is something you're going to want to watch with the overall market, with the Nasdaq, to get a good idea of. But definitely something I'm monitoring today. Okay, Google. So Google has done a pretty good job of holding, let me delete some of these. Google has done a pretty good job of holding the 120 level. You guys can see right here on Friday and on Thursday. This is one of the top watches I provided for you guys in the stream. I think we were also talking about it in the chat, saying watch out for the break and retest of 120. You got a very nice break, a very nice retest. If we go to the hourly chart, let's just go 15-minute. Look at what Google did here. So Google, get a little bit more time. Here we go. Google clearly flipped from, right? It clearly flipped from rejection into support, right? You can see it right here. Rejection into support. So that is a very clear flip, a break and retest of that 120 level. Rejection, support, break and retest. So a nice hold of 120 on Google. That is a must hold moving forward for the bulls. If I go to the 4-hour chart, however, there is a little bit of area that I'm a little bit cautious of, right? You can see right here, rejections up here around 123, 123.50. So I'm a little bit cautious of just getting too bullish on Google here. If we push up into that 123 and we reject that previous triple top level, that is totally possible. You guys can see rejection. So I think as long as Google holds 120, it probably consolidates and maybe makes your push, depending on what the market does, of course. If it loses 120, right, then I think that momentum is lost. But if it pushes up into the 123, 123.50, just be a little bit cautious if you're in a swing trade or if you're long Google of these double tops right around here. That could be the potential rejection point right in here. So that is from April. That's that same April high, April-May high that you see on the Nasdaq, right? That's the same exact time, guys. Same exact time. So if you reject that April-May high on the Nasdaq, right, which is right here at 13,583, that is the same exact time that Google was doing a double top back in April and May, around 123.50. So watch out for that, right? Okay. Amazon. Amazon's definitely one of those stocks that I am watching for downside if we get market downside, right? I'm not going to just irrationally trade Amazon puts. It's not what I do. It's not how I trade. I like Amazon puts. I'm buying them at open. I don't care what happens. I like Amazon if I start to see market weakness, because I think Amazon is pushing into this rejection point, which is the same point as the Nasdaq, and it is also pushing into the 200 SMA. It also, if we go to the daily chart, has some ridiculous gaps on its daily chart, right? You have a huge gap up from here on earnings. You have a gap down, which was filled on this gap up. So it's an interesting chart on Amazon here. If I see market weakness, this will be the one I probably look at. This will be the stock that I look for downside, right? Because I like the fact that you have the 200 SMA acting as a rejection point. I like that is, I like when the 200 SMA has my back, right? I feel more confident if the 200 SMA has my back on a position then I have a little bit more confidence in it. You know, if the 200 SMA was trading up here, then I know, okay, I don't really have the 200 SMA on my side for a rejection. But if I see the 200 SMA coming down, causing some rejections here, and a previous rejection point, if I see the ES and the Nasdaq give up today, if I see it give up at any point this week, then I know Amazon is the one that I want to look for maybe a bear flag breakdown, maybe even a gap fill. You know, that maybe that happens. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but if I see that market give up, if I start to spot weakness on the market, my attention will flee towards Amazon at the 200 SMA with the possible bear flag, with the possible gap fill. So I'm a little bit more biased to the downside here on Amazon, but that does not mean I will trade Amazon puts. That means that if I see market weakness, I will trade Amazon puts. If and only I see market weakness. Okay, Target. So Target has earnings this week, and you potentially could only catch the gap fill if you play earnings. That's how they're setting it up on us here. You could potentially miss out on the gap fill if you don't play earnings. All right, that's the FOMO you're going to be stuck with in your head this week. Now it depends on who's willing to take the shot or not. Are you willing to gamble for a Target gap fill? But here's the gap fill on Target up to around 209.13, right? 209.13 is the gap fill level, and earnings are what, tomorrow before market, Wednesday morning. So do you get the gap fill on earnings? Does earnings get this thing back higher? You are above the previous level. As you can see right here, the previous level was, the high of this candle was 168. And you have seen over the last few weeks, or the last few days actually, pardon me, look at what 168 has done. Look at what 168 has done over the last few days. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we retained 168 as a demand level, right? So you can see we came up, we came back down, we held it, we pushed up, we came back down, we held around the 169, and we continued higher. So 168, we are above it. So we are in the gap. We are officially in the gap on Target. However, maybe you can play it today, tomorrow. Maybe there's some upside today, tomorrow into the gap, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens for earnings. Does earnings move this thing up back towards where it was trading previously, right? Does Target catch up to around that May trading area when we gap down on the last earnings? Interesting. I'm not saying anything. I can't predict that, but I like potentially for 168 hold, maybe for some trades today, tomorrow on the short term to see if there's some more momentum heading into earnings. That's something I would watch. If you're going to trade through earnings, maybe let's say you make a Target trade. Let's say you make $100, $200, $300. Let's say you turn some profit on some short-term trades today and tomorrow on Target. Then maybe you have the reason to maybe risk a little bit of profits there on earnings. But if you're just going to play earnings, if you don't have profits to play with, I wouldn't waste your money, your hard-earned money on a Target earnings play. But let's say you make a few dollars here today, tomorrow on Target, throw maybe 50% of the profits in an earnings play. That's something I can maybe get behind if you want to be a little irrational here. But overall, it's not a good idea, guys. It's never a good idea to play earnings. But if you can play with some profits, it makes it a little bit easier to swallow. All right, Nvidia. So Nvidia gapped down, if you guys remember, gapped down on Nvidia. You guys can see here, we gapped down off that earnings or that guide down, and we filled that gap, right? We filled the gap on the guide down. Right here, you can see guide down, which was on, I think this was on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. When was this? Was this on what is the 5th? Not that it even matters. Why am I even looking? But it is, okay, it was Friday. Friday the 5th was when we guided down Monday morning. Okay. So we guided down Monday morning. We gapped down in the pre-market. And now we have returned to fill that gap. If we go to the 4-hour chart, we can look at this little rejection point that I would just be a little bit cautious of, guys. So we have a rejection here. This is on the 1st of August. We had a rejection here. This was on the 2nd of August. We had a rejection here. This was on the 3rd of August. We turned that into support. We turned that into support. This is a 188 level. We dropped off the guide down. We came back up. We filled that gap. This is a gap close. Is this a gap close reversal, right? You can see sometimes stocks gap down. They fill their gap. They come back to where they were trading previously, and they continue on their way down. Right? This gap close and a reversal off that gap close level. So I'm a little bit cautious of Nvidia up here. 188. I'm not a raging bull here trying to trade it through this rejection point. I am a little bit cautious of this 188 level. If I go and zoom out, we'll also take a look at some longer term levels here. You can see that this whole 188, 190 level has been traditionally pretty difficult for Nvidia to break through. So if we sort of draw a line across the board here, you can see we've had a lot of previous rejections in this level. Rejection here, rejection here. We had previous support here. So this whole area for Nvidia just looks heavy to me. This whole 188, 190 level just looks pretty heavy to me on Nvidia. I'm not going to be the first one to trade the upside through here. That's basically what I'm trying to say. I will not be the first one to be trading calls through this area. 188, 190, even up towards around 193. There is a lot of previous rejections all within this area. Here, right? Here. All this rejection, all these rejections back here. Boom, boom, boom. You had a rejection as you pushed higher here. So, I'm not going to be the first one here. If I start to see this hold up, if I start to see something like this, if I start to see higher highs, then sure, then I'll jump on it. But I need to see a little bit more confirmation before trading into the supply on Nvidia. 188, 190, just be a little bit cautious up there, guys, because AMD is also showing the same thing. So AMD, you can see we had previous rejections. Boom, rejection, fake push, rejection here, rejection right here, all right here, rejection here as well. So am I just buying calls through this level? No, the answer is not. The answer is no. So yeah. So I'm just going to be cautious here around 100 on AMD. It is trading above 100. I think that is the necessary hold if you want to retain some bullish momentum. If I zoom in, you guys can see we are on a little bit of an uptrend, which has continued to hold. We're continuing to hold this uptrend, but you're starting to get a little bit stuck above 100 here. So I think anything above 100 is a little bit heavy. 100 to 104 seems a little bit heavy up here. If you can get above this previous high, right? If you can see this, see a move like this, then turn this previous high into support, then, you trade off maybe a little flag break, then I like that trade. If you can see a previous high, hold as support, then I have that confirmation of some more upside. But through this 100 to 104 area, just seems a little bit tough. Watch out for that. If the market gets weak, this could be a very nice breakdown of this uptrend. If the market gets weak, this could be a very nice breakdown of this uptrend. That's another thing I'd monitor. Okay, Square. This is another trade that I'm biased to the downside on. If I see the market get weak, just like Amazon, this is one that I want to play to the downside. Why? Right? Why do I want to play this to the downside? Well, I'm just looking at this chart and I can't help but think that these rejections are rock solid right now. This triple top back here, this triple top right here, this rejection once again. So if I see some downside pressure on the market, I will definitely be monitoring Square for another rejection at a triple top and a triple top, and it's just rejections everywhere. It's rejection everywhere. If I go to the daily chart, this is not the daily. Here's the daily. If I zoom out, make this look better here. You guys can see on the daily chart, just look at all the times we have pushed into 90, 91, and just have not been able to get through. So if the market shows weakness, I am definitely interested in Square. Downside. Netflix, we have the gap fill level. The gap fill level starts at The high of this is 248.70. 248.70 is the high of April 20th. This is where we gap down April 20th. 248.70. Where are we trading at right now? This 200 SMA scales the chart out really weird. 248.70 is the gap fill level. You can see we tried and we rejected painfully. We tried, we rejected painfully. We're trying in the pre-market after from last Friday close, and we are starting to reject. So in my opinion, Netflix is not ready to get above this gap fill level. You can clearly see the rejections that continue to come in. And this could also be a very nice play to the downside if the market gets weak, right? If you see the Nasdaq pull back, does Netflix reject this gap fill level? Does Netflix is it not able to break above the previous high of 248.70? Is it going to reject off this level? If the market's weak, I would look for that. If you get strength on the market, if you get some crazy movement, then Netflix could be an outperformer in this gap if it can get above. But we need to get above first. You need to see something of consistency here, guys. You need to see some previous highs turn into support here before you can just start jumping in. All right, you need to see a flip. Where's the flip happen? Right? Where does this flip start to happen? Where does the previous highs turn into support? Not, let me get in while we're seeing rejections here. Okay? Meta. Turning off this 200 SMA. I'm tired of this chart being scaled like this. There we go. Much better. Okay. You guys can see right here. What's this rejection point up here? 183. Let me zoom out. Let me go to the 4-hour chart. There you go. So you can see Meta is sitting at the rejection point again. Right? I remember talking about this on the stream in the first few weeks of August. I said, hey, look at Meta. Back to the demand zone. You know, this is tough to play calls on because your mentality doesn't allow you. I didn't play it. I didn't trade it. I'll be honest. I didn't really like Meta at this time. But look at what happens. Again, another demand hold on Meta at 158. And you guys can see right here, 184 on the upside, possible rejection point, right? And it is coming in once again. So another one that you could be biased to the downside if you see market weakness. Could you be biased on a little bit more short biased on Meta here at this rejection point, looking for maybe another channel trade back to the downside? If you see market weakness, does Meta reject the channel high like it has done so many times in the past? Can you trade it back to the downside off a weakness on the Nasdaq? That is going to depend on the Nasdaq, on the ES. Do we lose steam? If not, you don't trade. If the Nasdaq's breaking through and the ES is breaking 4,300, you do not buy Meta puts looking for a rejection at 184, right? That's not how you trade. You don't trade Meta puts if the Nasdaq and ES are pushing through highs, right? If you're pushing 4,300 on the ES, if you're pushing that 13,560, what is that? 13,583 level. If you're pushing through that level on the Nasdaq, you're not buying Meta puts looking for the channel downside. You have to trade this with the market. If the market sees the weakness, then you can sort of piggyback on Meta there off that rejection. All right, guys, so that is what I had. One thing I want to show you real quick, AbbVie. This is a long that I'm watching. AbbVie, I like this little demand hold around 138. That is definitely something I'm watching. What else am I watching? We can pop in Apple. Let's just make let's just make it known here, guys. Apple is the best stock on the stock market. I don't care what you say. There is nothing better than Apple on the stock market. It is a tech stock that is down 5% from its all-time highs. This is astonishing to me. So if you bought Apple in the 130s, the 140s, the 150s, you got away with murder. You got away with robbery. You should always be dollar cost averaging into Apple. It just pays to do so. It's just a simple fact. It just pays to do so. So I am, as you guys know, I am a perma bull on Apple. I buy this thing like crazy. It's in my SEP IRA. It's in my long-term portfolio. It's in everything. Apple is like the SPY for me. If I was to recommend someone to buy stocks for the long term, Apple is the one. Largest company, most cash on their balance sheet. Just, you can clearly see, right? The stock's performance sort of shows you shows you that it's the best. It's basically at all-time highs, give or take. All right, let's pop over into energy. Daily chart, and that is not financial advice, just to make it clear. But that is irrationally bullish advice. That is my irrational bull side coming out of me on Apple. So energy getting hit this morning. You guys can see right here, a little double top rejection right on energy. Where is that? That's right at 78, 79. Just a really clean double top. So let's move that up there because that seems to be the new level of importance right there. So there's your new double top on energy. So you can see big drop this morning. It's got to be news related. I must have missed the opportunity or missed the news, but I think you have OPEC this Friday. I'm not too versed on the energy side of things, but double top rejection on XLE. I would look for energy downside here. Let me see what the /CL is doing. Wow, look at that. Look at that on the CL. Oh, what am I looking at here? What am I looking at here? I'm not going to say it. Someone needs to say it. What is this? That is very, very clean. I'll wait 5 seconds and then I'll change. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? You should know what that is. Boom. 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 Previous support. Previous support. Previous support. Previous support. Previous support. Right? This happens everywhere. Previous support, breakdown, come back into previous support. Support, support, break below it, come back into it, turn it into a rejection. Absolutely fantastic. Beautiful. So I would look for downside there. That is just sexy. That's all that is. All right. Let's continue. Let's go to the live stream. What do we got? Can we go over bank strength? ON. What is ON? What is ON? Semiconductors? Yeah, that's a really nice break and retest, man. This chart is awfully choppy. It is at all-time highs, or at least highs from... yeah, I don't know. This is a really just sort of weird chart. It's been gapping up. I would just be cautious trading it at all-time highs. I would not be long. I'll never recommend someone to go long at all-time highs. I don't care what the stock is. That's my advice for you. I will never, ever, 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 ever go long at all-time highs. It's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. All right, so that's what I'd watch. All-time highs. I would be careful trading upside into all-time highs. Yeah, XLF, let's look at that real quick, and then we'll jump out of here. Let's quickly cover the bank strength, because we have seen some insane bank strength. So you guys can see, look at where the bank's held. I mean, this is just textbook stuff. That is some textbook stuff on the XLF. You guys can see previous rejection, boom, previous rejection, little short-term rejection right there. We pushed through it. We came back to it. Where did we hold? The exact same level. Exact same level. You come back down to it. Look at the wicks on the downside on this daily chart. Look at those downside wicks showing strength at that level, and we have seen some nice strength here. So, yeah, I mean, I would watch banks. It's not quite to the downtrend, but you have seen some nice strength on JPM. You've seen some nice strength on GS, Morgan Stanley, Bank of America starting to perk up a little bit. So, yeah, I think this is the sector to keep eyes on for sure. You got Goldman Sachs breaking this pretty clear downtrend here pretty aggressively, maybe back towards 373. You got JP Morgan that's fighting with this downtrend, which actually might start. Yeah, it's a little bit of rejecting. It's rejecting a little bit right now. So I would at least monitor banks. I'm not a big trader of bank stocks. I really don't. I have never gotten the full understanding of these moves on bank stocks. I've never had good luck trading bank stocks. So I would be a little bit careful, but it is a sector that is heating up. That is for sure. It is a sector that is benefiting from the current environment on the market, for sure. All right, guys, that's all I got for you. It's 8:50. If you want to press that like button, if you want to support the stream, do it by pressing the like button. Do it by subscribing to the channel. Help me continue to grow this channel. I got pretty much all the wraps on the 50,000 subscriber giveaway, so that is coming out shortly. Stay tuned for that. If you want to trade live with me every day, check out the Discord down below. We trade live there. After this live stream, I go there, get on the mic around 15 minutes before open, and we start to trade live there until around 12 p.m. Eastern. So around noontime is when I dare to. I get off around 12 because I don't like to influence anyone to be around the computer. I step away from the computer at 12 almost every day. It's not a good habit to be sitting in front of your screen all day, guys. You're not going to make more money. You're not going to be more successful as a trader if you're sitting around at the charts all day. Give yourself some break. Give yourself a lunch break. Go do something else. Maybe you come back later in the day. No one sits in front of the computer all day and trades. I mean, maybe some people do. That I can guarantee you will find better mental strength, better emotional strength, a better mentality about life and trading if you mix it up a little bit. Do not sit in front of your computer all day. Find that hard stop. Find that time where you say, okay, I'm wrapping it up. I'm going to go do something else. It was a good day, and let me lock in the profits and walk away. You got to find that mental strength to find that time. Okay? All right, guys. I'll leave you with that. Have a good day. Press the like button. Help me can we get to 500 likes today? Got about 30. We get more people in here. It's like 1,300, but the likes are staying the same. More people, same likes. That doesn't make sense. All right, guys. Anyways, have a great night. Have a great night. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.